Hi, Lisa. Hello. Greetings from Malaysia. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, I'd like to say thank you very much for saying yes to be interviewed today. And thank you to technology. We're connected over thousands of miles apart, even though. When I read your profile, I said to myself that I had to get Lisa on because I am actually transitioning out from a 9 to 5 to a coaching and therapy practice of my own. And when I read it, you are a master coach, and I'm like, I thought there in coaching there's also levels, tiers to it. So okay, I gotta get some insights from her. I know I could read it online, but better to get it straight from a person. So yes, I am so excited to have you here. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm so excited to see where our conversation takes us today.
Yes. And I'd like to read a bit of your introduction for our listeners today, and then we can get right into business. So, hello everyone. We have Lisa Pachence here with us. Lisa, an executive life and leadership coach to big-hearted, high achievers who dream of leading big lives and leaving big legacies without the big burnout. Oh, there's a lot of bigs in there. As an elite coach for coaches, entrepreneurs, and executives, Lisa brings deep insights, practical tactics, and masterful partnership to enact transformative life and business changes. She is a professional certified coach, PCC, ICF Mentor Coach, speaker, coach, trainer, and founder of LP Coaching and Consulting, which offers designer coaching to clients such as Google execs, startup founders, and entrepreneurs. When she isn't leading a coach training program, deep diving with clients, or teaching a workshop, she's traveling the world with her husband, which is pre 2020, chasing her two cats, and hosting community connection and Vino Hours. Bro, I had to Google what Vino Hours mean. It's wine, right?
Yeah. Well, and actually, it's funny. That's an old bio I've just sent you because now I have a 1.5-year-old son at home, so that our day
That
to day
added
has
into
changed
the
quite drastically. Yeah, I'm no longer chasing after my cats. I'm chasing after my son.
at your son. Well, okay, then tell us, what was it like growing up as Lisa?
So, good question. Growing up as Lisa Pachence, I had a wonderful family. In fact, I'm still very close with both my parents. I had an older brother. Both my parents were intellectuals. My mom is a doctor, and my dad was a cancer medication consultant. So he would fly all over the world and support companies to bring their cancer medications to market and be able to make a difference. And I was raised in this environment to love learning, love service, and always be bettering myself. I developed a high achieving mentality from a young age. Played soccer and softball. I was very athletic. And so I also traveled the world playing soccer. And I developed this. I developed this high performance mentality that if I wasn't performing highly, why bother? Might as well go do something else. Or I'm a failure is the most disempowering version of that.
Or I'm worthless.
Or I'm worthless. Exactly. I'm worthless. I'm unlovable. I'm not acceptable, et cetera, et cetera. So it was not always easy. In fact, there was about a decade where I really struggled mentally and emotionally. And it wasn't until I started coaching that things began to change for me. Even years of therapy could not do what coaching supported me to be able to change in it, which was pretty
Really?
incredible. Yeah. And at that point, it was the thing that I could not pursue. I could not do myself because it was so intensely helpful for me.
Right. Okay, so therapy and coaching, why is that? Why did you say that it's so different? What was your journey with therapy, and then how did it change when you went into coaching?
Well, at that point, I had had a therapist for, I want to say about 7, 8 years off and on. Not the same therapist, but different
Right.
therapists. Maybe it was more than that, 10 years. It got to the point where therapy was fine. It was a place where I could dump my thoughts, I could be heard. But what it wasn't doing was moving me forward. It wasn't teaching me the skills of emotional intelligence and regulation. I didn't have practices that I was taking on. I didn't have someone to really stand in the face of my stuff and say, what are you choosing?
Mm.
You're choosing to be miserable. You're choosing a set of belief systems that's perpetuating everything else. What if you can choose something else? Are you willing to do that? So the biggest difference to me at that point in my life was the support around personal responsibility, was taking my choice. And it was a pretty big moment, not only in my career, but also health-wise. I was experiencing a lot of health issues, and I felt very victimized by these health issues. It felt unfair, and I didn't
Because you
understand
were
why
athletic
me? Because
and
I was
you're
athletic. Yeah, I took
yeah,
care of myself. And so why was I experiencing this chronic inflammation and chronic pain? I was doing everything that the doctor told me to, and nobody could give me answers. So taking personal responsibility around my mental and emotional wellness was so powerful. And it really wasn't until then that I started making the right changes in my well-being as well, and found someone who could work with my body in a way that put me in the right direction. But I had to be relentless in my
Mm.
pursuit for wellness, just as I was relentless in my pursuit for taking responsibility back in my career.
Can I ask, what was that pivotal moment or the breaking point where you said enough is enough? Or was there a moment that you had that you said, I can't live with this high achieving mentality? Or did you find that balance between having that mentality as well, but also being compassionate with yourself?
Well, I don't think it was a breaking point. I think it was an opening point when I
Mm-hmm.
first entered coaching, that there was another way to do it. And I knew there was another way to do it. I just hadn't found the right process or the right platform to give me that sort of self-education and self-awareness. And in our society, we're not really taught how to be emotionally aware or emotionally intelligent. It's just not a part of our curriculum. We learn math and the Pythagorean theorem, but emotional intelligence, no thank you. There's no
Yet
place in our
we interact,
scholastic
everything is
curriculum.
people, yet it's the paradox of it.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
very, very paradoxical.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the release of my high achiever. There was a couple of things going on there.
Right.
There was a high performance mentality, and that high performance mentality was designed for me to be safe,
Mm.
but working harder, finding the right sort of wellness or working harder in my work did not get me the results that I had previously gotten. It's like using one tool in order to go in a different direction doesn't actually work. You can't use a hammer to build a house. You can
Mm.
use a hammer to hammer in nails, but you can't use that hammer everywhere. That high
Mm.
achieving. And when
Mm.
my high achiever and high performer doesn't work, I would fall into victim.
Right, because it's like sort of you tying your so no your motivation, your driving factor by getting can you say it like that? By getting something because you work so hard for it and then but you don't get it using the method that you've always used before, and then you spiral into this self-beating and
Yeah, a lot of self-punishment, a lot of why
mm,
me, this isn't fair, I don't understand. And some of it was my cultural and familial upbringing. My parents were really hard workers, and their mentality, I would say like the family motto was like everything can be solved by learning more or working. And those two things were not working. It was not resolving my health issues, and it was not making me a better leader in my
mm.
workplace. There was something different, a different mechanism, but I was so ingrained in that mentality that I couldn't get out of it.
Thank you for sharing. Why
Mhm.
I think why I'm resonating is because well, for me, 20 through my 30s was those years were the years where, I put it upon myself that, okay, I gotta work hard because I don't come from a well-off family. The background, a medium, what do you call that? Lower, no, higher medium income. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
to term it, but education is always the key to better living, better lifestyle according to my dad, which I believe and I am very grateful to him. But I thought that it was going to solve all of my problems in life. I'm going to be settled when I work hard and get certain status or get certain possessions. But then I also experienced my fair share of burnout in working corporate. So after I think 12 years, I said to myself, this isn't working for me. I thought that the highest level of an achievement for a woman, at least in my perception, is to be at the C-suite. I don't know how I got it, but I kind of know societal conditioning, but it wasn't sitting right with me because I was falling sick, I was stressed out, and I said to myself, this isn't right. If this is what the world is asking me to do, but my body isn't agreeing to it, something is wrong. So I had to take a step back and out of the system and really evaluate again, have an x-ray of what's going on. And to be honest, right now, I also, because in Asia, it is not very well known to go for therapy because it's taboo, and it's like, oh, you can't, if you're going to therapy, meaning you can't settle things. That's if you can't figure out what's happening in your head, how are you gonna figure out things in your daily life? So that's a very taboo thing here. And and then when I came across hypnotherapy by Marissa Peer, I was like, maybe I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone. Go study it, and then at the same time try and put myself into therapy. So of course it is not the same as attending a session, sitting for a session, and but then I'm working through it right now as we speak. But what I think the point here is that it is okay to have your overachieving but number one, you shouldn't tie it with your self-worth, and definitely not victimizing yourself if it's not working in the way you envision it to be. And then number two, well, find ways, be relentless.
Yeah.
Yeah, in finding out what works for you, because it's only a matter of time you will spiral, and again you blame yourself.
Yeah.
That's my part of my story.
Yeah. How are you relentless now in your coaching and
Oh
hypnotherapy
my
journey?
gosh, Lisa. Okay, relentless in the sense that I am relentless in my. I think right now I'm going through that spiritual journey, like finding myself, like who am I? How am I showing up in the world? Am I showing up with the truest, the most authentic self? Am I portraying that to the world? And I try to decondition, peel off all the layers that I've learned before, basically unlearning everything that I have learned and being brave to actually challenge that is that the only way, or is that the correct way to go about things, and how I see certain things in life or in society? Is there any other way to see it? What's it like standing from the others, from outside looking in, something like that? And then in terms of well, to be honest, talking to people is me being relentless because I want to know, like yourself, you are a coach, so I want to know your backstory and how I can relate. Like, is it am I the only ones feeling who used to feel this way? But then also at the same time really tapping into my intuition, that that is my compass. I mean, I can take advice from everybody, but you shouldn't let that drown your own inner guidance. It's there for me. As we speak, I am still finding, and I think we're still finding until we're at 6 feet. Yeah, unless we're 6 feet on the ground right now. So
There's
that's
no there's no destination to learning about ourselves. There's simply a exercising of the muscle of self-learning.
yeah, yeah. And it's very therapeutic talking to people, to be honest, at least for me. So I'm not after the views. I am after the conversation, really, the stories and how to connect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I've been speaking for the past 10 minutes. This is your platform. Lisa, I know we talked a little bit about what called you to coaching, but this is the first question. What actually called you to coaching?
It was a life-changing experience that I experienced while coaching. And in a session, my coach at the time said, wow, you're really good at this. Have you ever thought about being a coach? And I said, huh,
Ah,
interestingly, I haven't, but I am interested in changing my career. At that time, I was interested in giving myself a plan, path forward, what's next for me? Is it going back to school? Is it getting a different degree? Is it getting a master's in HR? I was running a recruiting department in Manhattan at that time, and I had always been in human resources and recruiting right out of college. Really enjoyed it, enjoyed the people aspect of it. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I pursue the coaching path first. I can always add it into my tool set if I want to. It certainly will give me something in the right direction towards what I want, because what I wanted was to be better at supporting and serving people in the workplace. And as I was going through my own coach training program, it simply became it was the work that I couldn't not do. I loved being an entrepreneur. I was really good at it. I had so much self-motivation and self-focus and integrity that being an entrepreneur, it felt natural to me. I never had a problem being motivated to, let's say, do my schoolwork on my own. Nobody had to tell me to do it. I would just be like, I have to do it. I don't want to, but I'm going to do it anyways. So being able to have a sense of tenacity and integrity, I don't want to say self-control because it's not self-control, but just a rigor in doing something for a very long time was, I say, part of what made me successful as a coach early on.
I love it. Uh, I mean, your background speaks for itself. When I look at her, I'm like, she doesn't look that, you know, but she's already attained professional, like master coach. Like there must be
Yeah.
something you're doing something right there. So
Yeah.
and when you were saying that, and I was like, imagine if you are anybody is already very naturally, innately motivated, and if they can just harness that energy and direct that into the things that they truly, truly, truly love. I mean, one, people do it for money, yes, but then if you align it with your passion, which is right now you're doing your coaching, the result is like through the roof, and it's like you're not doing it's working and playing at the same, because you're not gonna be working because you love it, and then it comes because I was trying to, okay, again, trying relating. I had that drive before, but because of the toxic environment I had at work, I lost that. Like I didn't even want to wake up. To be honest, I was dreading the work days, like Monday or even Sunday evenings. No. So and I knew deep down, it's like I'm not like this. I know I can. When I put my heart into something, it's just my heart wasn't in it anymore. So I had to find, yeah, relentless. Finally, and I'm not gonna say that people change, things change, right? And I myself will change. Nicolette now will be different to Nicolette 10 years later, but yeah, right now this is the path that I think that I would want to go. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
And go ahead.
yes, you're saying.
Well, being relentless about figuring out what that means for you too. I think it's so often that we confuse what we don't feel like doing with what we shouldn't be doing.
Mm.
So for instance, I mean, in our work, we have to do the tough stuff. We have to be able to stand for our clients and say the edgy thing and risk not being liked or looking foolish, and then in our own work too, we're doing our own work in a way that it's not comfortable or convenient. It's uncomfortable. It's long and sometimes very painful to activate the
Yeah, that's the word.
ways that
Excavate.
to excavate all of the ways that we interrupt our ability to connect with people and our ability to help and serve. And really, it's painful. It sucks. And I don't think we as a modern society support our population to be able to learn how to find joy in the stuff that isn't comfortable. But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's the right direction.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, doesn't mean it's uncomfortable. That it's the right direction. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. Doesn't
Wow.
mean it's not the right direction. I found that early on. I would go through months of asking myself, like, why am I a coach? This is so hard. This is so painful. This is very uncomfortable. I had to keep coming back to that. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not right for me. It just means it's uncomfortable right now, and I just have to keep going. So
Yeah.
learning how to do that, and I know how to do that. I learned that from a young age, doing uncomfortable things like stamina training
Uh,
in my teens was not comfortable. It was not fun. I didn't look forward to it. It wasn't convenient, but yeah, I still woke up early before school and ran a couple miles in order to get my stamina up.
Amazing. Thank you, Lisa. Coaching has become a hot topic in the last few years. Why has coaching become an integral part of our industry?
Can you answer that first? Because I'm curious what you think.
Oh, wow.
Why has it become
Became a
integral?
two-way conversation.
I have lots of answers for this. I'm happy to start too.
Um, how has coaching become? Well, just like I think we touched a bit on that a couple of minutes ago. It's because coaching isn't, how do I say this? It's like we can be swayed in different direction. I mean, as much as we know what is our moral compass or our values or our purpose in life, but we need a coach. I think, which I believe actually, but it depends on the person. It's because you need somebody who has coaching. Why would somebody become a coach?
Yeah.
It's because they want to be of service, I think. Yeah. And it means because when you give, you sleep better, at least for me. So that means you're trying to leave. If I could put it simply, you've lived certain experiences and you want to show the way to the people that come after you. And okay, hey, you can go this way. I've gone this way before and it sort of quote unquote failed me, but there's actually never a failure. But you are free to go this way. But I'm telling you, don't go this way. This is a better way, but it'll probably get you faster. So coaching is somebody that why is it integral is to help you navigate and also act as a sounding board to a person. At least that's for me. What about you?
I think coaching's become a hot topic because or a hot commodity because our society is yearning for connection, for self-worth, worthiness, and for a place to belong. We are increasingly a disconnected, isolated, and depressed civilization. So there's reasons for it. I think the space of our minds and our hearts and bodies are being taken up by things that don't actually fill them, but just take up our focus. So for instance, social media. Social media gives us this false hit of connection, but we don't actually get fueled with belonging and acceptance. We get fueled with comparison, with numbing out, with
Like,
I wish I was over there, with not enough, with more, not enough, not enough, not enough. So our thinking brains think we're connecting, but we're actually draining. So that's just an example of it. And coaching is a place for someone to rediscover how to connect with themselves, how to connect with others, and how to connect with the spirit of the universe. That's the first thing. The second thing is that our society is also moving away from a apprenticeship, mentorship sort of framework. We don't have things like apprenticeships anymore. We don't have things like mentors and guides. And religion is becoming less and less popular and common for a lot of good reasons, but there's nothing to fill that space. We don't have time to mentor people. We don't have time to apprenticeship. Are the things that take up our capacity now are just so many. And so to have a dedicated person you get to go to and say, I need support, I need help, I need guidance is incredibly useful. Someone who is a non-judgmental space for that person to show up exactly as they are, how they are, and for them to feel accepted and supported and move forward. Now, a lot of people see coaching as mentorship or parenting or consulting. Coaching is not those things. Coaching is actually a learning of yourself, the client, that you wouldn't be able to get by yourself. It's being able to go deeper internally with someone else.
oh, I love. Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Yes.
I also think that as a byproduct of what's going on in the world, we're severely lacking self-trust and being able to have patience with ourselves in the process. And again, coaching is a great place to really increase self-trust, because if you have the right coach, if you have an ICF trained coach, then that person is uniquely trained to be able to support a client, to learn about themselves, to evoke self-awareness, to learn self-inquiry, to sit with the discomfort, to find new ways of doing, being, and thinking, all within themselves.
It's like a journey within.
Yeah, it very much is a hero's or heroine's journey within. There's a distinction another MCC brought where consider a circle and there's pieces of the pie. There's a piece that takes up the space of what we already know that we know. A piece of the pie is what we know that we don't know. And so examples of, I don't know the Malaysian language. I don't speak fluent Russian. I don't know algebra anymore. Like, I don't know that I don't know those things. And then there's a piece of the pie that's what we don't know that we don't know.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah.
And that there's a huge space of unawareness in our lives that we don't know is there. We don't see our blind spots until someone says, hey,
Have you looked at
Lisa,
this? Yeah.
you're actually acting like a victim.
Boom.
And I went, no, I'm not. Life's unfair.
Last time I checked, no,
It's
I'm
not
very.
me. Last time I checked my license, it didn't say victim on here. Thank you. And then, no, my coach was like, actually, you're being
I
pretty
used.
out of fact of your experience. Or you might want to, like, where else does this show up for you? How does that, like, what's this belief system that's keeping this, like, no, it's unfair. Everyone else, I don't understand. Like, what's that? And it's hard as a coach to do that, to be the one to be able to say, like, hey, have you noticed this thing? There's a pattern here. Can we speak to that in a gentle and loving and accepting, non-judgmental way? And that is the key. How do you shine a spotlight on a blind spot in a non-judgmental and passionate way? It's not easy. It takes a lot of training. It really wasn't until I reached my MCC that I've learned how to do that, how to shine a spotlight on what we're not seeing, but also to be able to do it in such a kind and loving way. And I had to do my own work to do that.
Yeah. It's very much reflecting on yourself and being courageous enough to do that on you, and that lead others to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Both
There's a
parties
last
win.
piece. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No. That's okay. I love it. I think I'm on the right path.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's a forever journey. And then the last piece of this pie is what we don't know that. Yeah.
Can you expand on
So
that?
absolutely. I'm just letting that sink in for a second. So this looks like, oh, I forgot. I can trust myself. Oh, I forgot. I am worthy. Oh, I forgot. I've had immense courage in life. I've encountered so many obstacles. Of course I can do that. That last piece of the pie of re-empowering ourselves, because we forgot that we do know. We just need support in remembering and support in exercises to access that remembering in the moment.
Preach to the choir. Thank you, Lisa. You just reminded me again, like, although I get up and I try to, not try. That is so nice to have reflected back to you, Lisa. Nicolette, you are worthy.
Yeah, you are worthy. You're relentless. You're intuitive. Yeah. When you encounter that thing and all remembrances of our strengths go out the window, that is the perfect time for a coach to say, hey, remember the last time that you did something super courageous? What was that? What was
Oh,
that like?
thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Wow. Okay. I have a lot to ponder on after this interview.
What I'm here for.
Okay. How does one become a life coach, and what do people need to know about the journey?
So I'm a little bit opinionated about this. So let's call it opinionated. I believe that life coaches absolutely need to be trained rigorously, just like they would in any other profession, just like a therapist would, just like a doctor would, just like someone who works in health and well-being, because that's essentially what we do. We work in health and well-being of the mind, heart, and spirit. So there are coaches out there who call themselves coaches who haven't gone through that training. And I highly recommend, if you want to become a life coach or a career coach or a business coach or someone that truly elicits the strengths and empowerment of other people, to go through ICF accredited coach training program at some point
Mm-hmm.
and to get your credential, to have an ACC, a PCC, or an MCC. You don't have to have your MCC, but at least to go through a training program that provides that ACC. There's one governing body, the International Coach Federation, that provides credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a slew of coaching schools out there that are accredited by the ICF, provide a credential through their schooling. And I say that for a number of reasons. Number one, eventually our industry will be licensed. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 10 years or 20 years or even in our lifetime. Psychology at one point was an unlicensed field, and then it became a licensed field. So it will eventually become licensed, and we all kind of need to have that foundation under us. And then the second thing is really knowing and being rigorous about understanding those lines between coaching, therapy, and consulting. Because if we as coaches miss something like a therapeutic concern and we don't address it, then that person can, be harmed in a way. There was a case where someone was being coached and they were highly depressed, and that coach wasn't trained enough to be able to detect it. And unfortunately, that client ended up taking their own life. It wasn't during the coaching, it was a couple years after, but it wasn't sufficiently addressed. And it was just a very clarifying moment of, this is exactly why we go through training, and this is why we need to continue training on that level so that we can really provide what our client needs. Yeah. I mean, this is important work. People come to us with their lives in our hands. I mean, it's a huge responsibility, and I do not take that lightly. And I hope that every other coach out there does.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. And what was your second question?
Oh, what do people need to know about the journey?
Yeah. What do people need to know about the journey? Okay. So here's the thing about becoming a coach. A
Mhm.
lot of people go into coaching, not you or me, but a lot of people go into coaching saying, I need to make a quick buck, or I want to make a lot of money, or I want to have a good side hustle. Those people aren't coaches. And let me tell you, coaches do not make a lot of money. It's not.
Yeah, I checked.
It is. Yeah. Like the average coach makes $34,000 a year. There's only, I want to say 4% or 5% of coaches make more than six figures on a regular basis. It is not a field to go into if you want to make. You want to make money, go into finance, go into investing, go into real estate. That's where you can get the big bucks. It's not here.
Yeah.
There are people who go out there and create programs and call themselves coaches and market it in order to make money. I'm a marketing coach, so I'm going to put a program out there and get 5 million followers and sell that program to everyone. There are very, 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 very few people where that's successful, and those people are not coaches. So do not know that getting into coaching, there has to be a very strong what for, a strong why, a strong spiritual call for, a reason for doing it outside of making money. And you can make money. It just will not be likely within the first, year or 3 years or even 5 years. I didn't hit six figures until year 4, I think, or 3, 4. It was several years before I replaced my corporate income, and I worked hard for it too. So know that the journey of an entrepreneur it's up and down and sideways and back and forth and all over the place. It's not this straight uphill, pretty gradient, and it's not easy. Don't become an entrepreneur to make money. Do it because your heart sings to it, calls to it.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
What do you need to consider when hiring a coach, and what makes a good coach?
First question you should always ask a coach that you're hiring is, do you have a coach?
That's a good one.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a coach? And I've worked with people who call themselves coaches who are not actually coaches, but I hire them for other reasons. I hired a business coach who was really a marketing expert, and she did have a coach. She had a therapist. She was working with mentors. It was very clear that she was bettering herself and that it was important to her. So always ask if that coach has a coach. I recommend that if you're really looking for someone who is in the life coaching industry, ask what training they've had and what credential they hold. Do they have an ACC, PCC, MCC? Have they gone through a coach training program? What is their background? I would also ask for case studies if you're interested, as in, hey, my situation, I'm a high performer who feels really victimized by my life and I want to learn how to be happy again and figure my career out. Have you worked with people like me before and what were your success stories?
Mm-hmm.
That's always a good question to ask. Yeah, and then lastly, I always like the question, like, why do you love doing what you do? Just to see how that person responds. Is that person passionate about it? Or are they, sometimes I find that those who are really good at what they do reach a point where they're a little bit burnt out. And you can kind of tell by the answer to that question that they're a little burnt out. Like, oh, well, it was just natural progression. I've been doing this for a long time. And, I love my clients, good work-life balance. It's like, man, you lost your mojo, girl. Maybe now is
Work-life
not the time to
balance, but
hire
then you're
you.
speaking like, that doesn't really, it's not, it's not giving. Let's just put it that way. It's not giving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
those are my answers. And I think you had another question in there.
What makes a good coach?
What makes a good coach? Always doing your own learning and developing, looking for your edges, where your blind spots are, and excavating those.
What are the ways that you do yourself for that to address those areas?
Yeah. So I always have a coach. I'm always in some sort of therapeutic modality right now. I'm doing somatic therapy, which is wonderfully healing for my body and old injuries. I'm also always taking some sort of course or program, and I try to look for the programs that are particularly hard. They're challenging. They're not easy. They require bravery. They require courage. They bring up a little fear. Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
That's okay.
Always look for that edge. Excuse me one second. Oh, my throat.
Are you okay? Is
Oh,
that
yes, I'm fine.
all good? Okay. In Asia, we say it. Probably somebody's talking about you.
Great.
In
Hopefully they're
Asia.
saying good things. It's really funny.
Okay. Thank you for that. You coach women who are dissatisfied with their 9 to 5. What mistakes or missteps do your clients say when they made when choosing their career path?
Most commonly, it's the path that they think they should walk. It's what they've been trained for. It's what they're good at. It's a zone of performance, but it's not their zone of love or their zone of genius. That's a Gay Hendrick distinction to look at where your zone of, I think it's the zone of excellence is, or zone of production or performance, something that you do really well, but it doesn't actually pour back into you in a way that pours out. It's not a one-for-one thing. It usually drains you.
Oh, can you repeat that again?
Yeah. Oftentimes when we find ourselves in a underfulfilled career path, it's because we're taking the path that we think we should take, which is a career that we perform well in. It's in our zone of performance, but it's not in our zone of genius or joy.
Zone of performance, but not the zone of genius, zone of joy, zone of love. Oh, I love that. I love that. Always perform. I'm going to put on my vision board. Perform in your zone of genius and love.
Yeah. And there's overlap between those zones. Your zone of excellence and performance will overlap your zone of genius, but oftentimes we hold them separate. Or let's say, we're head of a department, we find ourselves promoted, we're doing really well, but we're like, why am I so underfulfilled? There's every measure of success. By all these means, I should be happy, energized, or poured into, but I'm not. I'm feeling left empty. Well, it's because 95% of your time is taken up by your zone of excellence, but not your zone of joy or genius. So if we look at what we do that we love, it's likely not that career or that company or that path. It's something different.
I got nothing more to add to that. That was perfect.
Amazing.
What are the top secrets of having a referral-based, waitlisted 6-figure coaching business?
It's a great question. Fortunately, this will have to be my last question because I have another client call to jump onto.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, yes, it is. Maybe we started quite late, but Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to. So do you have to jump off now?
No, I have a couple minutes.
Okay, you have a couple minutes. All right. Yeah, I would want to. That should be your last question. I could trim them all. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, secrets of a sustainable high income business, and do put your work in, put your time in, and find the joy in putting your time and work in. Those, 1 to 5 years of entrepreneurship is really hard, and people don't normalize that. And it's really, really hard. And there's a lot of mistakes, there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of failures. That's okay. That's part of the process. It's like a child learning to walk. Failure and falling and tripping and bumps and bruises are all part of that process. Sometimes you split your mouth open. It's all part of the process. It doesn't mean you stop learning to walk. It just means you learn and get better. The other thing is being a generous giver. There's a great book called The Prosperous Coach by Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler, and they
Mhm.
talk all about this. Being prosperous means being of value, being of service, impacting every conversation that you possibly can. It's serving someone so much that you become unforgettable. And I've had conversations with 7 years ago who never hired me, who then come back into my life and say, I had that one conversation with you and I never forgot. Are you still taking clients? It's pretty amazing. So don't focus on the transaction,
That's when you
focus on
know
the
you leave an
transformation.
impression and a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, there was just a delay there. Are you back?
Lisa, are you there?
Are we
No.
back?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
That's
good.
okay. I'm just gonna cut that part out when I'm
Great.
editing.
You got it.
Yeah. Where were we? Oh, I think that was it. That was the answer to the top secrets. Okay. Wow. All right. I have okay. The rest of the questions are completely related to my podcast. What is your heart's greatest wish?
That everyone on the planet find the ability to have joy and bliss while they're on this planet.
I love that. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
And it's interesting. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with others. So I try to partner as much as possible.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. You were breaking up.
My favorite quote is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with others.
Go with another people.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Lisa, how can people reach out to you?
You can find me on my website, coachingwithlp.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Lisa Pachence. And you can also send me an email, lisa.pachence@accomplishmentcoaching.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Lisa. And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, Lisa Pachence. Before we close off, Lisa, I would like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails that will come after you. This has been Lisa Pachence, your guest of the day, and Nick Nyara as your host, signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.
And